So when I ran my stiles, I got tear out. I don't know if you can appreciate it, right along this inner edge here. And it's really not acceptable for a piece I would use all along there. I thought maybe it was going against the grain, but no, the grain's going this way and I was pushing it this way. So it's not really against the grain, well, at least not right here. The grain pattern's coming down. So it was with the grain, it still tore out. So what I'm thinking is to maybe make 2 passes for my stiles. Thank God I haven't cut much. And I did cut some other sample pieces and it didn't do it, so I don't know, but I think maybe it's too big a cut, so I'm going to move my fence and do 2 passes. Another thing I did real quick, I wanted to see how this fit together, so I grabbed my bottom rail real fast and I grabbed put the wrong side down on the table. And it's easy to do. I mean, this is the top of the rail, and I cut the stiles part on the rail, the stile profile on the bottom of the rail on the wrong side. So just one piece, thank God, before I ran them all through like that. So you can be real careful about which side goes on the table since it's upside down, or you could end up with this profile wrong like I did. It should be on the other side, it should be on the top side there. I redid it, another piece here just for fit, and everything fit okay on my first piece. So one thing you might want to do is I got a push stick, I cut a little notch on the bandsaw. It's just wide enough that it fits in between the jessam and the featherboard to push the stiles through, because it's kind of a narrow space right here. So I just happened to have a piece laying around, put a little notch in it. That works good. The jessam hold downs worked pretty well. They do hold it down pretty tight. Again, pretty much toward the fence, but I still needed a little bit of a featherboard to keep it from straying. At the very end, it tended to stray out a little bit too, so the featherboard was working. But you might be able to get away with just using them by themselves. Okay, what I just demonstrated was I'm taking a little scrap piece of a stile and putting it on the end to prevent any kind of tear out there. And I'm running just this first part of the arch and the last part before I go freehand routing on a pin router. I'm only going half cut too. Again, I'm going to go deeper cut the next one. So I'm going to do these 2 sides of the cathedral top, and then I'm going to take it on a pin router and do the rest of it. So this is just a little sample cutoff piece that fits in there, again right at the top on there, so you know which way you're running through there. Run all these through, then I'll be ready for freehand routing. So I'm trying to make some sanding forms out of the bondo. That's auto filler, and mixed the 2 parts together. It was a really old can, like 6 or 7 years old. I'm not sure the hardener and everything. Well, I know the hardener works because some of it dried on the first splotch I made dried before I could apply it. It dries really fast, so if you're making sanding forms for your profiles, get it on there fast. Don't mix too much at a time, or it's heating up too. So I just use paper to push it on. I had an old notepad. I just grabbed something really quick, about 15 sheets each, and stuck them on there really fast and pushed it in. But there's probably better ways to do that to make sanding forms. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I might have to buy a new can. Like I said, it was a pretty old can, but we'll see. So my plan to route these on the pin once I take the fence off and route the arches was to put these blocks on either end, so I cut extra blocks that have profile there and there. This is the stile profile on both sides there. I had a stain board. I was practicing different stains for the eventual staining of this, different colors, and so I use that to make these blocks, and it's allowed me to clamp this on the end and still have a profile there. I guess you could do a solid block here too, but as long as you got the profiler to clamp. So I'm gonna use this as kind of my clamp as my hold down to run it across the router bit. I mean, there's probably better ways and not necessarily the best way. I'm not an expert in this, so but I've done this before and it actually worked with the clamp to do an arch top like that. So these throwaway scraps, they've got that extra groove in there. My arch piece, this is a sample, you know, it was a bad piece that I made a defect in, but it's got that groove. I already cut the flat part here. Now I've got to bring that profile, it's the same one we're using on the side of the stiles around the top here on my rails. And the end of the rails got the different profile. So I made a bunch of these little ones before I took the fence off and just ran them down two sides of a square block basically, and then cut them out in pieces as I went. And made about 6 of these. Probably could have got away with 2 of them, but here's all my bottom rails, top rails. My stiles are in a different room, and the raised panels are in a different room. Okay, I made these pieces here. You got to have the stiles profile on this side and this side, and I clamped it on the end of the top rail, and I'm going to go ahead and route the center arch. I've already got those side arches started on the flat part that I ran on the fence. Now I'm going to cut out the middle part. I'm using these to be able to clamp the clamp to use as a holder, pretty much as clamps just to keep my fingers away from the blade. So here we go. Okay, so I'm still trying to make a sanding form for my stile profile. Took an extra piece of stiles and built this little box of cyanoacrylate to attach the sides. Kind of wished I'd waxed it before I attached the sides so I could get down in the little bitty areas down to the side. I dropped a board in here too. I'm going to take a freezer bag. It's really not as thick as sandpaper. I'd like to have something the same thickness as sandpaper to put that layer between the sanding block. I'm going to take the bondo here. I already took the wax and waxed all the parts I could reach. I'll see if it sticks or not. But it was kind of hard to get down in the corners here and real low down on the sides for this sanding form. So I wish I had waxed again before I stuck the 2 sides on there. So I just made up a little box here. I don't have, for the raised panel, I don't have that profile where I can cut one out because it's all in my doors. I wish I'd made an extra raised panel piece I could stick in a box too and make the profile for that for sanding rather than the piece I stuck before. So I'm getting ready to try the bondo. We'll see if it sticks in there. If I have to cut the box out around it, I will. But I did wax all these surfaces as much as I could reach. And then I'm going to put the bag on top and press the bondo into it. Okay, so for the bondo, I'll take about 1 of these, I think is 1 line of the hardener to put in with this, about golf ball size they say. Don't want to come out coarse. Pretty nasty stuff, nasty smelling stuff. Don't think I'd want to breathe this every day, put it that way. So that's not going to be enough. 1 spoonful. All right. Here's another one. Another scoop. As you heard, dinner was ready, but it's going to have to wait. Another scoop of this stuff. It's going to get boring to watch me do the whole thing. So, I don't know if that's enough. Yeah, it's probably enough. Wish I could get it out of there more. Now, I'm going to put some hardener on there. Probably about 2 lines. I don't think it matters if it's exact. 1 line, 2 lines. Now you got about 3 minutes before this stuff gets hard, so I'm going to turn the video off and start mixing real fast. Okay, I'm back. Just mixed it for about 30 seconds here. It's not quite getting as hard as the stuff I had before, not quick, but I'm gonna get it okay. So now I'm gonna put that in the mold. Looked like I probably should have mixed up more. That's my first thing I'm finding. Let's see once we press it down in there how it comes out. Don't want it to harden yet. Yeah, I should have mixed up more. Maybe one more dolloper, golf ball sized in there. All right. Yeah, could have used a little bit more. Well, let it sink down in there. Hopefully gravity's doing its thing. I mean, when it starts to harden a little bit, I'll try to put a little more pressure on there. Boy, it'd be nice if I had one more block. Guess I could use my pressure down like that. It'd be interesting to see if this really forms the mold around it or not. It's not hardening as quick as I think the older batch I tried before was an old can. It was like 10 years old. That stuff dried a lot quicker. It was already partially dry to start with. Well, we'll check it out at the end. I'll show you how it turns out. So I've kind of worked on some bondo sanding forms to do the edge for sanding, and it didn't turn out real tight to the bond. So I tried another one. This time I took a wood block, a 2x4, and pounded it in there. And I did wax the sides. It worked very well, the wax. It removed right off there, no problem. I still used a freezer bag for the running one direction, but on the sides I waxed it before and it worked real well. The problem is this bondo is too tight to the form. The plastic bag is in here currently, but there's no gap wide enough for the sandpaper, so it's not going to fit the profile. So I'm beginning to think this method is really not the way to go. I think I'm going to have to revert to an old tried and true tool to sand these contoured edges called my hand. You can buy little foam pad backed sandpaper things too. That might be a little easier on the hand, but I think I'm going to do the raised panels in the rails and stiles just the old fashioned way. And I'm going to remove this from the form in a minute. I might have to cut the other side off it. I'll try it and see if it's any better. This one kind of piece of bondo, it's kind of on the one side it's a little better here, and then when I got to the other side, the profile's not very good. I think the plastic bag must have pulled up there and not been pounded down. So hopefully with pounding this piece it worked out better, because I actually had to resaw a 2x4 to make it narrow enough here, resaw it on a bandsaw to make it narrow enough to fit down in here, and then hit it a long ways along here and pounded it with a mallet a few times right as it was hardening. So I mean, it's pretty close to the contour there, but again, I don't think it's going to work because there's not this even gap for sandpaper. Once you put that in there, it's going to lose that profile. I've found some old forms here, and they actually seem to work because they can kind of compress to the edges here. So I think I'm actually going to end up kind of using the sandpaper on one of these blocks. Yeah, they do deform a little bit, and I even tried it on the stiles a little bit. We'll see if that works better. So we'll see how that works.